UFC is going to China, and Petr No Mercy Yan is back in everyone's lives. What a fight we have this weekend in the main event. Like I said, Petr Yan returns, and he will be taking on the former champion Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, this fight has been on my radar ever since it was announced. Deiveson Figueiredo, like I said, someone who's moved up into the bantamweight division, older in his career, a former champion already, and what he's been doing in this division, did anyone expect that? He has rattled off some really top quality wins. Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, and Marlon Chito Vera are three great names to have in your record in the bantamweight division. It's interesting that, it just speaks to how tough and competitive bantamweight is that this guy hasn't gotten a title shot already. A former champion rattling off 3 wins in a new division. That's pretty wild, but he is right on the doorstep, and I think the winner of this fight is next up. Petr Yan, he has been off for a little while. He snapped that 3-fight loss streak in his last performance, a really, really good performance in my opinion, against a young, streaking contender in Song Yadong. And that guy has a really high-profile fight now. He's been doing great things, so I think that win is going to age really, really well on Yan's record. Petr Yan, one of my absolute favourite fighters to watch. The guy's Muay Thai, his striking, how dangerous he is on the feet. It is so fun to watch. When he gets in that rhythm, there is few people who can compete with Petr Yan. He is an absolute savage. You can tell when he's in there hurting his opponents that he loves it. If you've seen clips of him training, he just has that killer instinct, and that can't help but seep through in his fighting style as well. What happened against Aljamain Sterling? Clearly down opponent, and I don't think he cared, just delivered the most brutal knee to Aljamain Sterling. You know what I mean? Like, the guy likes to hurt people. This is going to be a really, really well-contested matchup, I believe. Petr Yan, he's a really slow starter, and yes, we have 5 rounds here to work. Perfect. If this was a 3-round contest, I could see Deiveson doing really, really good things over those 3 rounds, And Deiveson Figueiredo as well, someone who's very comfortable with going 5 rounds. Like I said, former champion, been the distance multiple times over those 5 rounds. And, shown great gas tank, great cardio. So he's not going to have an issue over the 5. Petr Yan, 5 rounds is tailored to his style. The first round, the second round, he likes to download data and find those openings. And when he's found them, he just puts it all together. Countless performances. Look what he did to Sandhagen. The first 2 rounds were very competitive, but 3, 4, and 5, he ran away with it. The guy's known for doing that. You really have to get on top of him straight away, like a Marab, just not let him get going. Aljamain Sterling, really stifle him. Otherwise, he's just going to... If you let this guy get momentum, similar to like a Holloway, it just goes downhill so fast. And that's what's so interesting about this matchup, because I think to beat Petr Yan, you need to mix it up. You can't just stand there and strike with him. And Figueiredo, especially at bantamweight, has shown some really, really good takedown ability. But not just that, but the control and the submission threat as well. So I think Deiveson Figueiredo, if he has his P's and Q's about him, because the guy loves to bang. I don't know if this is necessarily the right matchup to do that. Petr Yan stifled, like I said, for those first 2 rounds. If he can do that, I think this is anyone's fight, because I think he can stay competitive enough on the feet, and he has some real big power. Like, Petr Yan isn't going to feel free to just tee off on Figueiredo. I think this is a really, really interesting stylistic matchup, and the big question for me is if Figueiredo can get the takedowns, because yes, he's taken down Font, Garbrandt, and Chito Vera. They do not have the anti-wrestling that Petr Yan does. So if Petr Yan can keep this fight standing, start to find his rhythm, find his shots on the feet, I can see a clear path to victory for him as well. Cannot wait for this fight. I'm sure you guys are amped for this one as well. A fight night main event, this is what it should be. a really, really high stakes fight that actually means something. So I cannot wait. Let's really keep our eye on that main event, because whoever wins that one is next in line for a title shot 100%. Like I said, we are in China, and the UFC has put a lot of young Chinese talent on the card. Going to be really, really exciting. It's a crazy time, though. For me in Australia, Saturday night, which is what the US is used to. I'm used to having the next day, Sunday, during the day fights. So I think it must be like super early in the morning for you guys in the US. Nonetheless, the card actually looks really, really good. There are some really good standout fights. One I want to circle down to is Carlos Ulberg versus Volkan Oezdemir. This is, like I said, a high stakes fight in the light heavyweight division. It's what we all want to see. Carlos Ulberg, someone who is, has so much momentum, one of the best prospects, I would say, in the whole UFC right now. Trains with Adesanya, all of the guys down at City Kickboxing, they have only spoken, really, really highly of Ulberg. So he has a lot of steam behind him. And he was supposed to fight Jamal Hill, which was a big step up. A huge step up. And I'm sort of glad that he's getting Volkan Oezdemir, because if he gets through Volkan Oezdemir, a guy who is, challenged for the title in this division, spent a lot of time up there, then he's ready for guys like Jamal Hill. But I think this is the perfect next matchup to see. So make sure you check that one out. Volkan Oezdemir, the old vet at this point now, a lot of fights in the UFC. Can he hold off Carlos Ulberg? Because Ulberg's power and kickboxing technique, accuracy, how dynamic he is on the feet is a real, real threat. I think in this matchup, he may be able to showcase a lot of those abilities on a slower, older, no time Volkan Oezdemir. Kenan Song versus Muslim Salikov, two old vets who will give us a really entertaining striking fight. And like I said, a lot of young Chinese talent on this card. And what's crazy to me is all of these young Chinese fighters have like 30 fights. How are they fighting so much in China? I guess they're just stacking their record. They seem to be fighting so constantly because they're coming to the UFC like 25-5. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. You rarely see that. And to see it so much out of specifically that part of the world is really, really wild. So these guys are just fighting each other all the time. Like I said, really, really interesting card, topped off with one of the best fights you could make in this whole bantamweight division right now. What a fight, what a card. And if you guys are looking forward to it, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially about the main event. I think it's a really, really closely contested fight. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate it. And we'll chat soon.